Imagine reaching into a jar of loose change, pulling out a coin that seems ordinary, only to discover that it could be worth far more than its face value, that the small piece of metal in your hand connects you to secrets of minting, rare mistakes, and the shifting passions of collectors around the world. Think about a dime, a 10-cent piece so common that most people barely glance at it, yet this particular issue from 1989 with a Denver Mint mark could hold more value than most people realize. It might have spent decades in circulation, passed from pocket to pocket, used for parking meters and vending machines, and yet, under the right conditions, it could be worth far more than its one-dime face value. This is the story of the Liberty one-dime 1989 USA coin, how its current market value differs from its face value, and the unique errors, mistakes, and mint mark curiosities that make certain examples so sought after by collectors. The Liberty one dime we are talking about is more commonly known as a Roosevelt dime, a design first introduced in 1946 to honor President Franklin Delano Roosevelt, whose leadership during challenging times in American history and whose association with the March of Dimes campaign to fight polio made his image a fitting choice for the nation's 10-cent piece. The design features a dignified profile of Roosevelt on the obverse, while the reverse shows a torch representing liberty flanked by olive and oak branches symbolizing peace and strength. The design was intended to be timeless, and for more than 7 decades the Roosevelt dime has been a fixture of American coinage. By the time the year 1989 rolled around, the United States Mint had been producing Roosevelt dimes for decades. The Denver Mint, one of the nation's principal coining facilities, was responsible for striking hundreds of millions of these dimes that year, each bearing the small letter D just under the date on the obverse to indicate its place of origin. Millions and millions of these coins were made, intended for day-to-day use in commerce. Most circulated normally, and most remain common today. If you look in your pocket change or in rolls of dimes, you will almost certainly find examples from 1989 and from Denver. The vast majority of these are worth precisely what they say on their face, 10 cents. However, coins are made by machines, and machines are imperfect. In every year of minting, including 1989, a tiny fraction of coins have slight imperfections, unusual striking characteristics, or even visible errors. Some of these errors occur because of minting mistakes, others because of variations and quirks in the dies that press the coin's design into the metal blank, and a few because planchets, the blank discs of metal that become coins, were not quite right when they entered the press. These imperfections are generally rare, and while most collectors pay little attention to everyday worn coins, certain errors can drive intense interest and value among those who specialize in error coins and unusual varieties. To fully understand why a 1989 D Roosevelt dime could be worth more than dime value, we need to explore the many layers of coin value: condition, rarity, error types, mint mark placement, grading systems, collector demand, and how marketplace dynamics influence what buyers are willing to pay. At its core, the face value of any United States coin is simply its legal tender worth. A 10-cent coin is worth 10 cents at any store, bank, or vending machine. That value is fixed by law and does not change. But collector value, the price people are willing to pay for a coin in the marketplace, can vary wildly based on how common it is, how it looks, and whether it has features that make it interesting to specialists. One of the most basic factors affecting collector value is condition. Coins that have circulated in everyday commerce pick up scratches, wear, dull surfaces, and often lose their original luster. A 1989 D dime that has changed many hands over the years is likely to show signs of wear. Such a coin is generally worth little beyond its face value, perhaps a few cents more to a collector who wants a complete set of Roosevelt dimes by date and mint mark. But if a coin has never circulated, if it has sharp details, original mint luster, and lacks the marks of everyday use, its value can increase substantially. Specialists refer to uncirculated coins as being in mint state, and these are graded on a scale that runs from MS-60 up to MS-70, the latter representing a coin that is essentially perfect as it came from the mint. Within that mint state range, even relatively small differences can lead to significant value differences. A 1989 D Roosevelt dime in mint state condition might be worth $1 or $2, perhaps more, while one that can be graded at MS66 or higher might command $10 or $20 or more in the marketplace, simply because collectors place a premium on coins that look nearly perfect after decades. At the highest grades, some uncirculated Roosevelt dimes from other years have sold for hundreds of dollars. In 1989 examples, very high-grade coins that receive top marks from well-known grading services can attract bidding interest among collectors who focus on high-grade modern coins. Condition is only part of the history. Another factor that can dramatically increase market value is the presence of genuine minting errors. These occur when something in the production process does not go exactly as planned, leading to coins that deviate from the standard design. Error coins fall into many categories, and some types are more valuable than others. One of the better-known error types is the off-center strike. In the minting process, a blank planchet is fed into a coining press and struck with enormous force between two dies to transfer the design. If the planchet is not properly aligned or shifts before the strike, the resulting coin may have part of the design missing on one side and blank metal on the other. The degree of off-centering varies. A coin that is slightly off-center might show a small gap or raised edge at the rim, while a dramatically off-center coin might have half the design missing altogether, making for an eye-catching and unusual piece. Off-center error coins are relatively rare, especially in modern series where the mint employs automated machinery designed to feed blanks precisely. Yet even in 1989, with modern presses, off-center strikes could occur. Collectors prize these errors because they are visually striking and obviously different from normal coins. An off-center 1989 D dime with a significant displacement might sell for several dollars, tens of dollars, or even more depending on the degree of error and the eye appeal. Coins with extreme off-center errors, where the design is cut off badly, are generally worth more than minor off-center examples because they are more unusual. It's the visibility and dramatic nature of the mistake that draws interest. Another class of error that can influence value is known as clipped planchet errors. Planchets are cut from strips of metal before they enter the press. If a blank is cut too close to the edge of the metal strip, part of the blank may be missing, creating a clip. When such a clipped planchet is struck, you get a coin with a missing section around the edge. Coins with clipped planchet errors vary in value based on how large and noticeable the clip is, and whether the date and mint mark remain fully visible. A small clip might be worth a modest premium above face value, while a large and well-defined clip could make the coin more valuable. Clipped planchet errors are visually interesting and represent a mistake that occurred before striking, making them desirable to certain error collectors. Still, other minting errors relate to the metal composition or die issues. Modern dimes are made with layers of copper and nickel bonded together, so if part of the outer layer does not properly adhere, a coin could show patches where the inner metal is exposed. These missing clad layer errors are unusual and can be of interest to collectors who focus on composition errors. Additionally, issues with dies themselves, cracks, gouges, doubling effects can produce coins with unusual surface characteristics that make them more appealing than standard strike examples. Another fascinating aspect that sometimes affects value is mint mark anomalies. The 1989 D dime features a D mint mark to indicate that it was produced at the Denver Mint. In many years of coinage prior to the mid-1980s, mint marks were manually punched into dies with handheld tools, meaning slight variations could occur. A mint mark might be slightly higher or lower than usual, slightly off-center, or even double-punched in rare cases. These irregular mint mark positions or doubling can be catalogued as distinct varieties and can attract specialized collector interest if the variation is sufficiently clear and consistent. For example, a 1989 D dime with a noticeably off position, D, could be of more value to a collector who specializes in mint mark varieties, though such value premiums depend on demand and rarity within the collecting community. Value is also influenced by how a coin enters the marketplace. A coin that remains in the possession of a collector since minting, stored carefully in albums or holders and never used in commerce, might retain exceptional condition and command a premium. Many people remember receiving special dimes in change or inheriting coin collections from relatives. It is in these overlooked collections that rarities and high-grade specimens often turn up. A 1989 D dime discovered in superior condition after decades hidden away could fetch much more than typical circulated examples when placed up for auction or sold through dealer networks. The marketplace for coins is dynamic and influenced by broader trends as well. Interest in modern coins, especially those with error attributes, has grown among collectors. Coins once dismissed as common can become desirable simply because collectors begin to appreciate certain varieties or because grading services start to recognize and catalog new error types. Auction results, collector forums, and specialist publications all contribute to shaping market values over time. What was worth $1 5 years ago might be worth several dollars today because of rising interest in modern mint state coins. Importantly, value is ultimately determined by what someone is willing to pay. A dealer might offer a modest price for an unremarkable 1989 D dime, while a dedicated collector at a specialized auction might be willing to bid significantly more for an example that meets specific criteria: high grade, error type, strong eye appeal, and certification by a reputable grading service. Third-party grading plays a big role in establishing value because it gives buyers confidence that the coin's condition and authenticity have been professionally assessed and documented. Throughout the years, there have been remarkable stories of common date coins fetching prices far above their face value due to unusual characteristics. While many of these involve older coins with inherently low surviving populations, even modern-era coins can achieve surprising premiums when errors and varieties are involved. Coins with dramatic errors, certified high grades, or unique mint mark anomalies can attract buyer enthusiasm and result in values that seem disproportionate to their humble origins as pocket change. In the specific case of the 1989 D Liberty 1 dime, the spectrum of possible values is wide. Most circulated examples remain worth around 10 cents to perhaps 50 cents if they are in better condition than average. Uncirculated coins without errors can range from a couple of dollars to perhaps $10 or $20 for very high grades. Coins with noticeable errors, such as significant off-center strikes or large clipped planchet errors, can sell for anywhere from a modest premium up to much more depending on severity and collector interest. High-grade uncirculated error coins that have been professionally graded can attract particular interest and sometimes sell for significantly more than typical mint state coins because of their combination of condition and unusual characteristics. Collectors who specialize in Roosevelt dimes often build entire sets based on different mint marks, dates, and error types. In doing so, they create a market where even subtle differences can influence value. The 1989 D issue may not have the mystique of rare 19th-century coins, but within the modern collecting community it has its place as a series where condition, quality, and error examples matter. Looking at the current market overall, those who buy and sell coins regularly use pricing guides, auction records, and dealer catalogs to estimate values. These sources are updated as market trends evolve and as more coins are sold and documented. They show that while most 1989 D Roosevelt dimes remain common and inexpensive, the ones that are found in exceptionally fine condition or that display verified errors command higher prices. In some cases, error coins certified by services such as Professional Coin Grading Service or Numismatic Guarantee Company might be listed at values well above face value because collectors trust certified examples and are willing to pay a premium for authenticated error pieces. The journey from ordinary pocket change to prized collectible is a fascination of numismatics. A coin that once circulated unnoticed for decades can suddenly find itself at the center of attention because someone recognized something unusual about it. Pieces that make their way into collections are studied, compared, and often traded among collectors with specific interests. Coins with documented errors become reference points, teaching tools, and prized chapters in wider collections. The 1989 D Roosevelt dime may be modest in denomination, but for those who appreciate the subtle complexities of minting, the quirks of errors, and the thrill of discovery, it can be far more valuable than its face value suggests. Perhaps the most profound lesson from this story is that every coin has a history, even the most unassuming ones. The Liberty 1 dime of 1989 with a Denver mint mark might have been intended as simple currency, yet for some it is a piece of history frozen in metal, a testament to human craftsmanship and imperfection, and a tiny canvas that reflects both routine and accident. Its value is not just in 10 cents of purchasing power but in the stories it holds, the collectors it engages, and the possibilities it represents. Whether you are a seasoned numismatist or someone who simply enjoys the thrill of finding something unusual among common coins, the 1989 D dime shows that even the smallest pieces can have big stories and surprising worth. If you ever find one of these dimes in your pocket change or in a jar somewhere, take a moment to look closely at its surfaces, its strike quality, and perhaps most importantly, its condition. You might be holding more than 10 cents in your hand. You might be holding a piece of history. Imagine reaching into a jar of spare change and pulling out a coin that looks ordinary, only to realize that it could be worth far more than its face value, that this little piece of metal hides stories of minting mistakes, rare varieties, and unpredictable market value that can make collectors' eyes light up. Picture holding a humble United States dime minted in 1992 at the Denver Mint, marked with a small D beneath the date, seemingly just another 10-cent piece. Most people see these every day without a second thought, yet under the right conditions and in the presence of certain errors and anomalies, the 1992 D dime carries a narrative filled with nuance, history, rarity, and value that goes well beyond its 10-cent face value. This is the tale of how a coin meant for everyday commerce can transform into a sought-after collectible, why its actual worth in the modern market can vary dramatically from the value stamped on its face, and the fascinating world of mint errors, production quirks, collector demand, and valuation that surrounds it. From the moment the first United States coins were struck in the late 18th century, the idea of face value versus collector value has existed in American numismatics. Face value represents a coin's legal tender worth, the amount it is worth in transactions for goods and services, and it remains fixed by law. But collector value, the amount someone will pay for a coin in the marketplace, is entirely separate and driven by condition, rarity, desirability, and market dynamics. Throughout the history of U.S. coinage, there have been countless examples of coins that now command prices far beyond their original intent. Some are old coins that predate the Civil War, others are modern issues with striking errors that slipped through the minting process, and a few are coins tied to unique historical moments or production oddities. The 1992 D dime, a representative of the Roosevelt dime series, falls into the latter category when certain conditions arise that elevate it above its humble role as 10 cents of currency. The history of the Roosevelt dime begins long before 1992. The series was first introduced in 1946 as a tribute to President Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who had passed away the previous year. Roosevelt was a towering figure in 20th-century American history, and his connection to the March of Dimes polio research campaign made his image a fitting emblem for the nation's 10-cent piece. Designed by John R. Sinek, the dime's obverse displays a dignified portrait of Roosevelt while the reverse features a torch of liberty surrounded by olive and oak branches representing peace and strength. The design was intended to be timeless, simple, and dignified, and it endured with only minor modifications for decades. By 1992, the Roosevelt dime had been in continuous production for nearly half a century. Millions of dimes were minted each year for circulation, including hundreds of millions from the Denver Mint. Denver pennies and dimes of this era bear the small D mint mark, denoting the facility where they were struck. The Denver Mint, along with the Philadelphia and San Francisco mints, played a major role in producing circulating coinage, and the 1992 D dime was a bread and butter issue of United States coin production, common, prolific, and meant for everyday USE.IN ordinary circulation. A 1992 D dime is worth its face value, 10 cents. Most people never think twice about these coins when they find them in pocket change, coin jars, cash registers, or laundry machines. They are ubiquitous and familiar, carried without fanfare from hand to hand and paid out in transactions millions of times each year. But for those who study coins closely, for collectors and enthusiasts, there is a world beneath the surface of every year and mint mark combination, a world where condition, production quirks, errors, and rare varieties can cause certain examples to be worth significantly more than their standard counterparts. The first driver of collector value beyond face value is condition. Coins that have circulated extensively accumulate marks, scratches, wear, and surface dulling. These signs of wear reduce a coin's desirability to collectors and generally keep its market value close to face value. However, if a coin survives in uncirculated condition, retaining original mint luster and sharp design details, it enters a realm of greater interest. Coin grading is the system used by collectors and dealers to assess condition, and it ranges from very low grades for worn coins all the way up to mint state designations for uncirculated coins. The mint state scale runs from MS60, the threshold for uncirculated condition, to MS70, representing a coin that is essentially perfect as it left the mint. Most 1992 D dimes that collectors encounter are in circulated condition, and these typically trade for modest premiums above face value, often only a few cents to $1 or $2, depending on overall eye appeal. But a 1992 D dime that has never been circulated and exhibits exceptional luster, sharp strike, and minimal surface blemishes can be worth significantly more. Coins graded in the MS63 to MS65 range might sell for several dollars, while those graded MS66 or higher can command even stronger premiums among collectors interested in high-grade modern coins. In recent years, the market for modern mint state coins has grown, leading to increased visibility for high-condition examples once overlooked by earlier collectors. The value of these coins continues to evolve as collector interest and marketplace dynamics shift. Another factor that can elevate value is the presence of mint errors. Errors occur when something goes slightly awry in the minting process. The planchet might not be aligned correctly, the blank might be clipped, the dies may show mechanical problems, or other production irregularities might occur. These errors, especially when clearly identifiable, can make a standard circulating coin desirable among error collectors. One of the more familiar types of errors is the off-center strike. In the U.S. Mint's coining presses, planchet's metal blanks cut to the precise diameter and thickness are fed into machines where they are struck with great force between two dies to transfer the design. If the planchet enters the press slightly crooked or off-center, the resulting coin can show only part of the design on one or both sides, with blank areas where the design did not imprint. Off-center errors vary in degree. A minor off-center coin might show only a small portion of the design shifted, whereas a more dramatic off-center strike might have 40% or more of the design missing entirely. These dramatic pieces are visually striking and can attract collector interest because they are easy to spot and represent a clear divergence from the expected design. For a 1992 D dime with a noticeable off-center strike, the market value may rise to several dollars and sometimes much higher depending on how severe the misalignment is. Major off-center error coins with dramatic displacement can be especially valuable, as they are less common and more visually intriguing. Another category of errors that can affect the value of a coin is the clipped planchet. During the planchet preparation stage, blanks are punched from metal strips. If a blank is cut too close to the edge of the strip, the metal may not fully separate, creating a clipped section where part of the coin's edge is missing. When such a clipped planchet is struck, the resulting coin has a missing portion around its rim. The size of the clip dictates how noticeable and desirable the coin is to collectors. A small clip might attract modest interest, while a large, well-defined clip with clear date and mint mark visibility can draw stronger premiums. These clipped planchet errors are visually apparent and represent an interesting variation from standard minting, making them appealing to certain segments of the collector market. Missing clad layer errors are another phenomenon in modern coinage. United States dimes struck after 1965 are made from layers of copper and nickel bonded together with a copper core. If, during manufacturing, part of the outer layer fails to bond properly or is otherwise displaced, a coin may show patches where the inner copper layer is exposed or where striking impressions appear unusual. Slipped planchets, lamination errors, and other issues with the metal layers are less common but can be of interest to specialists. Coins exhibiting these characteristics are often valued for their uniqueness and can sell for premiums above face value, particularly when the errors are dramatic and clearly visible. Errors related to mint mark characteristics also play a role in determining value. The 1992 D dime bears a small d mint mark under the date, a symbol of where it was produced. In years where mint marks were applied manually to dies, minor variations in placement, depth, or orientation could occur. While in later decades mint mark application became more automated, varieties still occur that sometimes attract collector interest. Slightly misaligned mint marks, doubled mint marks, or other unusual mint mark presentations can be catalogued as varieties. For many modern issues, These varieties are not rare enough to command huge premiums, but in some cases they are distinctive enough to merit attention from collectors who seek comprehensive sets of mint mark varieties. A 1992 D dime with a noticeably off position or doubled mint mark might attract more attention than a standard example, and under the right circumstances it can be worth more than typical circulating coins. It is important to emphasize that not every irregular detail on a coin constitutes a true mint error with collector value. Many marks, scratches, nicks, and discolorations are the result of circulation, environmental exposure, or post-mint damage. Collectors and dealers distinguish between genuine mint errors and post-mint damage because only the former is generally desirable and collectible. Professional grading services play a significant role here, as they evaluate coins for authenticity, assign graded condition, and document error types when present. A certification from a reputable grading company can boost a coin's visibility in the marketplace and give potential buyers confidence that the coin truly exhibits the error or condition claimed. Understanding the current market value of 1992 D dimes requires paying attention to both standard coins in various conditions and those with verified errors. In everyday circulation, a 1992 D dime is worth 10 cents. That remains true whether you spend it at a grocery store or stash it in a coin roll. But in collector markets, coins are priced based on condition and rarity. A worn circulated example might be worth 15 to 50 cents to someone compiling a basic date run. Uncirculated examples in MS60 to MS62 condition might trade for a couple of dollars. As coins reach higher grades such as MS63 to MS65, they can command stronger premiums, sometimes $5, $10, or $20 or more depending on the collector demand and overall eye appeal. Coins graded MS66 and above, especially those with excellent luster and strike quality, can be worth significantly more as collector interest in high-grade modern coins continues to grow. Market values for error coins vary as well. Minor off-center strikes and small clipped planchets might fetch a few dollars in the marketplace. More dramatic examples with large off-center displacement or significant clips can sell for higher amounts, sometimes substantially more than common uncirculated coins. Coins with unusual missing clad layer errors, mint mark anomalies, or other distinct production irregularities may draw premiums depending on demand within specific collector niches. Graded error coins tend to attract more interest, particularly when the grading service identifies the type of error and assigns a clear description. The marketplace for coin collecting is dynamic. Values rise and fall with collector interest, auction results, online marketplace activity, published price guides, and shifting trends among numismatists. Coins once overlooked can become desirable when collectors start focusing on new categories like modern mint state coins or error varieties. Auction houses, dealer inventories, collector forums, and certification service registers all contribute to how values are established and communicated. Coins that achieve high grades with certified condition and notable error characteristics often sell at premiums because collectors are willing to bid against one another for pieces that stand out from the ordinary. Another important consideration is the concept of survival rate and distribution. Millions of 1992 D dimes were minted, and most remain common in collections and in circulation. That means that while there are many examples available, only a tiny fraction will ever reach high mint state condition or exhibit clear, collectible error types. The scarcity of top condition coins and striking errors is part of what drives value. More common examples remain inexpensive, easy to find and easy to collect, while the rare high-grade and error specimens are sought after precisely because they are hard to find. Collectors who specialize in Roosevelt dimes often build sets that include every date and mint mark combination, and some even extend their collections to include error varieties and high-grade representative pieces. In doing so, they create a niche market where subtle differences in condition and production become significant. The 1992 D dime is a part of this broader collecting landscape, and for those who focus on modern error coins or quality mint state examples, it provides an opportunity to explore the intersection of everyday currency and numismatic rarity. The responsiveness of the market to condition and error types reflects the broader way collectors attribute value. Something that might be worth $1 or $2 today could be worth more in the future as interest grows and as surviving examples in top condition become harder to find. Conversely, values can plateau or decline if collector interest shifts elsewhere or if large numbers of high-grade coins become available. It's a marketplace driven by human interest just as much as by mint records and graded population reports. At the root of it all is the fascinating reality that even something as mundane as a 10-cent piece can have a story far larger than its face value. Each coin carries with it not only a denomination but a history of production, circulation, human handling, and sometimes error. For collectors, that history is the core of what makes coins interesting and valuable. A coin like the 1992 D-dime is a reminder that even the common can become remarkable under the right circumstances. If you ever find a 1992 D-dime in your change, take a moment to look at its surfaces. If it's worn and ordinary, enjoy it for what it is, a little piece of everyday history. But if it shines with original mint luster, if its details are crisp and sharp, or if something about it looks unusual or off-center, take a closer look or show it to someone knowledgeable. You might be holding more than 10 cents. You might be holding a piece of numismatic interest worth far more, and a small clue into how coins, markets, and collectors assign value to the tiny discs that circulate in our pockets every day.